I am the daughter of the desert winds, my skin kissed by the sun, and my spirit forged in the storms of sand. They called me Najj, the flower of Zana, and though my kingdom was small compared to the great empires of the East, our hearts were vast and fierce. My people danced beneath copper moons, their drums echoing with stories of ancestors long gone. And yet it was I who was chosen to journey beyond the pages of our own myths into a world I never imagined. They dressed me in gold, like a fire contained within silks, to hide the fact I was being traded. My homeland, Zana, could not withstand another season of war. Our warriors were brave, our gods many, but iron and fire from the north had brought even the sand lions to their knees. So my father the decision. I Najj, the only daughter of the royal bloodline, would sail east to the empire of Shanyu. I would enter the crown prince's harem not as a bride, but as a pledge, a sacrifice for survival. I left on the 7th day of the harvest moon. The ship that bore me across the eastern sea smelled of salt, oil, and destiny. It bore the crescent sigil of Zana, and with it, all the weight of 1,000 prayers from home. The crew spoke a language that twisted in my ears like wind through canyon walls. The voyage was long, the sea a foreign mirror that refused to reflect the skies I once knew. I held my mother's pendant close to my chest and watched the stars each night, remembering how they used to guide our caravans through the desert. Now they guided me into the unknown. I arrived in the city of Shangyu beneath grey skies, the air perfumed with strange blossoms and incense smoke. The palace gates, high as mountains, closed behind me like the final page of a book. At Shangyu's imperial court, I was a stranger twice over by skin, by custom, by silence. The emperor did not greet me, nor did the prince. Instead, I was handed over to the stewards of the inner court to be bathed, perfumed, and rewoven into the tapestry of palace life. But they could not change the proud set of my shoulders or the fire in my eyes. Within the harem, every glance was a blade. The women were beautiful, delicate like porcelain trained in poetry, dance, and the art of seduction. I was none of those things. My beauty was wild, sun-baked and wind-swept. I was a shadow among petals, each consort more delicate, more pale, more practiced in the politics of silk and smiles. They stared at me with veiled interest, some with curiosity, others with disdain. A dark-skinned girl from a desert kingdom, draped in foreign patterns and pride. I kept to myself, my words few, my gaze steady. They called me the Dark Lotus. My limbs remembered swordplay more than song, and so I kept to the shadows of the plum gardens and lotus ponds, speaking little, learning much. Weeks passed. The prince did not summon me. I was a curiosity in his court, nothing more. Whispers said he had no love for foreign brides, that he favored the daughter of a noble clan, a woman as perfect as moonlight. I believed them, and I accepted it. For weeks I wandered the palace gardens alone. The Crown Prince Lision was a distant figure, spoken of with awe and fear. He did not grace the harem often. When he did, his presence swept through the air like a sudden wind. I saw him once, from afar, his robes like liquid jade, his gaze sharp as obsidian. Our eyes met just briefly, and I saw no desire in him, only curiosity. The moon festival soon came, a tempest of lanterns and silk dragons, of drums that beat like hearts. Flames burst from the red pavilion like a second sunrise. Then came the scream, sharp and haunting. Servants ran. Guards scrambled. I did not think I moved. The girl was trapped under a beam, her leg twisted, her face streaked with blood. I pulled her out with hands used to gripping spears. My robes caught fire. I tore them off, smoke curling through my kinky curly cloud of hair. He found me there. Prince Lizayan. His presence cleaved the chaos like a sword. He carried a child in his arms, his eyes locking on mine as I emerged from the smoke, face blackened, breath ragged. Later, they said he had never looked at any woman the way he looked at me in that moment. The next day, I was summoned. He wore a ceremonial robe, his expression unreadable. He did not speak for a long time. I stood before him in the throne chamber, still smelling faintly of ash and rosewater. "You saved her," he said. "She would have died," I replied. "You could have died," he intones, raising a questioning, well-groomed brow. "I have died many times already. Each time my land bled, I died with it." He rose, stepping closer. "You are not like the others. I am not here to be like the others." He studied me as if I were a foreign script he longed to understand. A silence fell between us. But it was not hollow. It was the quiet before understanding. After that, he began to call for me. Not in the ways the other consorts were summoned in silken beds or scented chambers. No. He asked for me in the study, in the gardens, in the war room. Always clothed, always respectful, always curious. Later, they said he had never looked at any woman the way he looked at me in that moment. The other concubines noticed. Whispers curled like smoke through the corridors. Jealousy bloomed. I was watched. But I was no longer afraid. There came a day when he asked me why I had accepted the fate of becoming a concubine, a prize to trade for power. I did not come here to be anyone's prize. I said, my voice steady. I came here as my people's sword in velvet. I came here to change the story. He smiled then. A real smile. And for the first time, I saw the man behind the prince. War came soon after. With the help of the eastern armies, Zana pushed back the Vorun invaders. My homeland lived because I had been willing to walk into fire, both literal and political. In a palace of silk and secrets, a dark-skinned girl became a flame that would not dim. I was no longer just Nia of Zahana. I was the dark lotus who bloomed in fire and ruled in silence. He asked about the Ziana myths, the story of the sand serpent that swallowed suns, of the women who danced storms into being. I taught him words in my tongue. At first, he stumbled through them. Then one night, by lantern light, he whispered my name with perfect clarity. I did not fall for him then, nor did he fall for me. It was slower than that, softer. He began to walk with me in the mornings, beneath the blooming magnolias. We spoke of philosophy, of duty, of sacrifice. He showed me a scroll of military tactics. I pointed out a flaw, and he smiled not dismissively, but with genuine respect. One evening, he watched me train in the garden alone, with a staff I had carved from bamboo. I danced with it like it was wind. When I finished, he clapped once, then said, "You move like someone who has never stopped fighting." I turned to him. "I haven't." The days became something we shared, not claimed. He never forced closeness, and that restraint became its own kind of intimacy. But the court grew restless. Jealousy soured the air. One morning, I woke to find ink splattered across my ceremonial gown. A warning. I said nothing. I had seen far worse than ink. The prince noticed. He did not ask, but that evening, he brought me a new robe woven in midnight blue, embroidered with flames. A silent acknowledgement. A shield made of silk. "I don't want to use you," he said that night. "I fear that's what this court will always do." "You didn't choose me," I answered, "but you saw me. That is enough," but it wasn't. War returned. Ziana called for aid. He gave it without hesitation. I rode beside him as an advisor, not a concubine. I saw him wield a blade, speak to soldiers, save a village with nothing but his name and a promise. And in that blood-soaked dawn, after victory, after loss, after fire and ice, I let him touch me. His hand on my cheek, my lips on his. Not out of passion, but out of peace. He did not take me as a consort. He asked me to stay, not as one among many, but as a partner, as a mirror, as a flame to match his own. And I, daughter of the desert, scarred and sovereign, said yes. For I had crossed into legend, not by marriage, but by choice.